Good evening and welcome to Orenda Books at Bedtime. I'm Karen Sullivan, publisher of Orenda Books. It's been a while since I've been on here. As many of you know, I have been struggling with the after effects of coronavirus and I'm still continuing to experience symptoms. So although work is being done behind the scenes, I've had amazing help from Mary Pickin and our team on social media, and I can't thank everyone enough for keeping things going in my absence. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because tonight's book is The Waiting Rooms by Eve Smith. This is her debut, and it's a stunning book about the impact of a pandemic on society. Now, this is a pandemic that is a little too real. It's about antibiotic resistance, which we are experiencing now. It's a preventable pandemic, but unless we do something, we will experience the type of society and measures and restrictions and devastation that Eve describes in this beautiful, prescient book. If this kind of subject alarms you, don't worry. It's also a wonderful piece of women's fiction. It's incredibly beautifully written. It was shortlisted for a number of awards before publication, and Eve is an undeniable talent. It swings from South Africa in the past to the present day as a nurse who works in the waiting rooms, searches for her birth mother. This is an escapist read, it's a cautionary tale, and it's utterly amazing. I'm going to tell you what it's about. Decades of spiraling drug resistance have unleashed a global antibiotic crisis. Ordinary infections are untreatable, and a scratch from a cat can kill. A sacrifice is required to keep the majority safe. No one over 70 is allowed new antibiotics. The elderly are sent to hospitals nicknamed the waiting rooms, hospitals where no one gets well. 20 years after the crisis takes hold, Kate begins a search for her birth mother, armed only with her name and her age. As Kate unearths disturbing facts about her mother's past, she puts her family in danger and risks losing everything. Because Kate is not the only secret her mother is hiding. Someone else is looking for her too. Sweeping from an all-too-real modern Britain to a pre-crisis South Africa, The Waiting Rooms is epic in scope, richly populated with unforgettable characters, and a tense, haunting vision of a future that is only a few mutations away. Now we'll hear from Eve Smith in Oxford.
I'm here to answer your questions. I address her first and then him. To support you in any way I can while respecting your father's wishes. I understand you received the notification this morning. He looks at her, but she is silent. He runs his tongue over his lips. Yes, that's right. He has nice eyes, I think. A deep turquoise like the Alboran Sea. Our last holiday before they shut the borders. He stares at his feet and frowns as if he's just trodden in something. My wife and we don't believe it's necessary to make that level of decision at this stage. She is watching me, waiting for me to speak. I don't. What I'm trying to say is, well, we feel this is all very sudden. There must be options. He sighs, his pockets of words already dwindling. He must still be in shock. He can't be thinking straight. I make my move. Mr. and Mrs. Atkinson. I keep my voice soft and slow. I understand how difficult this is. But your father has thought this through. It's not an impulsive reaction to his latest results. He's in pain, a lot of pain. He's been preparing for this for a long time. She erupts. It's his prostate, for Christ's sake. He's only 73. Surely there's something you can do. I don't understand, says the husband. What about radiotherapy? Or at least a blast of chemo? I thought they were still eligible for some procedures. Even a mild course of chemotherapy would have serious consequences. He looks at me like a confused child, mouth agape. People just don't get it, no matter how many times they're told. It's as if they think we're making it up. All cancer treatments increase the risk of an infection, I say, trying to be kind. Chemotherapy depresses the immune system. Radiotherapy kills healthy cells as well as bad ones. Surgery opens up patients to all kinds of bacteria. Your father would end up going through considerable pain and discomfort, including some highly unpleasant side effects for no benefit. Without effective antibiotics, these treatments simply won't work. Tears spill onto her cheeks and carve their way down to her chin. I understand how hard this is, I say, but your father doesn't want things to be drawn out. I swallow. You have to let him make his choice. She buries her face in her hands. The husband tentatively wraps his arms around her as if she might break. I feel sorry for her, of course I do, but these people mistake their passionate pleas for love. It isn't. It's their own grief getting in the way. You were aware of his intentions, I say to them. You were both witnesses to his directive. Yes, we were. He gives me a desperate look. But that was a long time ago, and, well, we never imagined that he'd actually ever have to. His voice trails off. It's like a swear word dying. Some people just can't say it. She steps away from her husband. A wisp of hair has escaped from her bun. She claws it back behind her ear. Convenient, isn't it? At first I think it's her husband she's speaking to. Patients shipping themselves off, unblocking those beds. Her words sound swollen. You have targets, I suppose. Helen, please. He draws in a long, staggered breath. I glance at the clock and brace myself for the next stage of this meeting. Mrs. Atkinson casts her eyes around the room. She gazes at me with an intensity that's all too familiar. We're wealthy, you know, she whispers. We have money. He shakes his head. Helen, don't. She thrusts her hand in her bag and starts tearing through it. We can pay. She brandishes a burgundy leather purse with gold buckles. We can give you whatever it takes. Stop it. Her husband snatches it from her. You're just making things worse. Mrs. Atkinson, I say, stepping back. I'm sorry, that's not only illegal, it's not even possible. I know it happens. You look after your own, don't you? Her voice slices through the room. I've read the stories. I'll bet you'd do it if it was your own father. I don't know what you've read, but the truth is that the drugs simply aren't available. I slow things right down as we've been taught. We don't have access to them in this sort of hospital. None of them do. You're lying, she shouts. Why won't you help us? What is it? Don't we fit your criteria? Aren't we the right kind of people? I'm about to respond, but she cuts in. Is it you? Do you do it? Her breathing is quick and shallow. She has composed herself now, channeled her anger. I'm sorry? Do you kill them? Or does someone else? I hold her gaze. My pulse sounds amplified, like Sasha's heartbeat all those years ago when I had my prenatal scans. My eyes flick up to the security camera and back again. If you're asking me whether I assist patients to end their lives, then the answer is yes.
Thank you, Eve. So in the back of the book, we've got lots of facts and figures about antibiotic resistance, which you might find interesting. But most of all, I think you'll be swept away by this incredible book. It's being published this Thursday. You can hop over to Twitter around 6:30. She'll be doing a live Q&A with Ann Cater, which is random things through my letterbox. And a little later, you can pop over to Jackie Collins' Dr. Noir's YouTube channel, and she'll be chatting to Eve on The Doctor Will See You Now. But this is an unforgettable read. It's a perfect book for our times, and it's something that I would recommend to everyone. And happy Publication Day, Eve, for this week. So thank you for listening. We'll see you next week on Orenda Books at Bedtime.